Could not be here tonight. Audrey got a phone call about 3:30, says there's an emergency in Baton Rouge, and he would not be able to make it. Kenny Havard, am I right? And Ronnie Jack. First of all, I'd like to thank Rick D'Amico for his services to the Chamber. He's been on the board for several years now and is going off the board, and we're welcoming J. Marley Bunch as a new member of the board. The rest of the board members and officers are listed on the back of the questions that we've got up for everybody today. We'll go briefly over the procedures on what we're going to do today. As listed on the format sheet that we have on the tables, each candidate will be given up to 5 minutes to introduce himself and tell us why he should be our next representative. This will be done in alphabetical order. The Chamber has submitted 5 questions in advance to each of the candidates. These questions were developed by the Chamber Board. Each candidate will be given up to 2 minutes to answer each question. We will begin using the alphabetical order as to who will answer the first question, who will be second, who will be third. We will alternate again alphabetically as each question is asked. Cornel Woodyer is going to be our timer. Okay, he has a sign that says, "You have 1 minute left." Okay? You also have another sign that says you have 30 seconds left. We have a big red sign that says stop. He also has a loaded gun. So without further ado, Bob, if you'd come up and be our first speaker.
All right, I'm Bob Arnold. I'm very pleased to be here tonight. First, I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting this, and Rural Broadcasting Service and Trust Cable for filming and airing it, and then my family for being here, supporters, and all the constituents of the district. A little bit about me. I'm married to Karen Smith Arnold. My wife's sitting right here. My oldest son Mike's in the audience. My Aunt Jerry and Uncle Henry. I'm a lifelong resident, as well as my wife, of District 62. Lived half my life in the Felicianas, half in Zachary, and we live in Clinton now. Moved back to Clinton after Katrina. Baptized in the Jackson Church over here. Worked in the IGA right behind me here when I was 14. Started working there. Went to Jackson High School through the 11th grade. I have 4 sons, 1 grandson. We attend Feliciana Baptist Church in Clinton. I am a conservative. I am pro-life. I'm a business owner. I guess some people say I'm a self-made man, come from modest beginnings. I own 2 companies, successful companies, 1 Reliability Point, 1 Atlas Inspection. Both are industrial inspection and reliability companies. And we have multiple offices throughout the southeastern United States, including Texas and Louisiana. Both businesses I built from the ground up, managed them myself very well, I believe. We've grown them even in these hard economic times. And I've grown them through hard work, sound business practices, and quite frankly, basically outselling my competition. A few things about my platform. Where do I stand? Some key elements of my platform. Economic development of the district. I propose to do this namely through job creation and the expansion of our tax base. With my companies, I've created over 100 very good paying jobs. Our product sales have caused manufacturing facilities to hire additional people, creating more good paying jobs. All these people pay taxes. All these people spend money. Now that's what I call real economic development. And that's how you grow a tax base, is through economic development. State jobs and state employees, something dear to a lot of people around here. Both my wife and I grew up in households where the sole provider worked for the state. My dad retired from forensic. My wife's dad retired from DHHR, and at one time was over one section of the East Louisiana State Hospital. We know what it's like working for the state. The majority of the state jobs we have in our district are what I call mission-critical jobs. All right? I use that term. These mission-critical jobs cannot be outsourced, nor can they be eliminated. All right? Not only will I champion those causes, but also I'll work to expand what we have, both private and public, using some of the expertise and facilities that we have here in the parish. I think the next thing, eliminate wasteful spending. I think there's a lot of wasteful spending still in the state. I think there's cuts we can make and eliminate duplication of effort in government. Namely, the Division of Administration and higher education. There's a lot of duplication there. Okay? It's in experience. In business, when I'm trying to win a contract, what I do, use it effectively, is differentiate myself from my competition. There's four good men sitting up here. One couldn't make it. But you need to be able to differentiate yourself. How do you do that? Political ideology and beliefs, age and experience. And they do go hand in hand. Personality, work ethic, not being obligated to anybody. Okay? I've made my living and I've made my retirement. I'm 51 years old. I'm not going to be a politician. I think politicians personally are what's wrong with this whole country. And that's not what I'm going for. And we're going to answer 5 questions tonight, all of us. Probably going to be about the same thing. All right? Who's here familiar with the phrase, hindsight's 20/20? All right? What I tell you to do is use your hindsight. See what we've done, not what we say we're going to do. Look at every one of us and see what we've been able to do. A couple years ago, our country elected a president. Never held a public job, a private sector job. Never ran a business. And I don't think I have to tell anybody in here where that's got us. Okay? You need to use this hindsight 20/20 and see what we've done. I've never taken the easy road. I've never been satisfied with the norm. I've accomplished a lot for myself and my family. And if you elect me state representative, I believe that I can do the exact same thing for the district. Thank you.
Ken, you're up.
I'm up. Well, good evening, everyone. Bob said something that's pretty interesting. He said that you have to differentiate yourself from the other candidates. I think something is very obvious that differentiates me from everyone else. I'm taller. Well, again, I want to thank the East Feliciana Chamber of Commerce for having this forum here tonight, because I think it is important for all of you to get to know who you will elect to the office of State Representative for District 62. A little bit about myself. I'm from West Feliciana all my life, born and reared there. My father was in education. My mother was in education. My uncle was in education, my aunt was in education, and what that all means is that I couldn't get away with anything at school. I finished from St. Francisville High School in 1975, went on to Southern University and received my bachelor's degree in engineering in 1980. After that, I hired on with the Riverbend Nuclear Power Plant and stayed there for 11 to 12 years. After which I heard that if you stay in nuclear too long, you couldn't do anything else. So I decided, and even you start to glow after a while. So I decided to move into another area where I started in the petrochem area as a consultant for a company that basically focused on water-related treatment for boilers, cooling systems, and that kind of thing. Also own 2 businesses in West Feliciana Parish. I own a health club, and my wife and I also have a child care Development and Learning Center in West Feliciana. I've been married for 30 years to Barbara Dawson of Zachary, Louisiana. I have 2 sons, one Destin, who's 18, who's now a bulldog. I rushed back here today because of this orientation, and I had to leave them there, but I wanted to get back to this event, so he's excited. He's fussing with his mom because she wants to paint his room, and he's telling her to get out. And secondly, I have a 16-year-old who wants to go with his brother because he's afraid that if he's the only one at home, we're going to ask him to do everything. So I'm excited about the opportunities here. Just to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing now, I'm police jury president in West Feliciana Parish, and I was elected 4 years ago because there's something I wanted to do was get some things done. I think that what you have to do is to be focused on a task. You have to be focused on what's important, not for individuals or not for special groups, but what's important for the area. I always say that the question needs to be asked, not what's good for me, but what's best for West Feliciana, or I would say what's best for this district. Because if there's a decision that's being made on what's best for the district or what's best for a particular area, I think that you will come up with the best possible solution. And that's why we have to focus. So a few days ago, I began to look at the platform that I ran on four years ago, and I was very comforted to realize that the very things I said I was focused on, I focused on. What we have to do is to look at economic development. Now, I'm not of the belief that as the country goes, so goes a state, or so goes a district. I believe it's the other way around. I believe that if you have a good functioning state, or you have a district that is being innovative and doing things, you can affect the state. If the district can affect the state, and then the state can affect the country. I'm not a doomsday believer to say that just because the economy is looking the way it is, we don't have a hope and a prayer. I believe that it's time for us to put our thinking caps on and determine what we can do. I believe that it's time for the legislature, our elected officials, to look at saying, well, what's good for one party, what's good for another, but to decide what's good for the state of Louisiana, and then not change it every time there's another election. You know, you have other countries that don't have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan. They have 20-year plans, or they have a 200-year plan. The problem we have is we're switching our plans all the time. Now, Bob knows in business that if he changes his plan all the time, that he's not going to be successful. Well, how can we expect to be successful as a state if we do so? That's only a little bit about me. I am pro-life. I'm a minister for over 20 years, so I enjoy working with kids. I enjoy serving people. And I'm not running as a politician. I'm running as a public servant. And I hope you will consider me. Thank you.
All right, Kenny.
Good evening. Thank all of y'all for coming out this afternoon. I want to make special thanks to the chamber there for putting all this together. I know it's a lot of hard work. Also want to wish all my candidates good luck. You know, this is a hard process. You know that already, right? So anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kenny Havard. Grew up right here in Jackson, Louisiana. Went to school at Jackson High. My wife, Shondell, we married for 19 years. We've got 2 sons, Davis and Jack. Both of them, Davis just graduated from St. Francisville. Jack just started the 9th grade. Well, after graduating, you know, my parents, of course, too, they live here. My mom and dad both retired from the hospital over here. Dad serves on the town council. And so we have a lot of roots right here in the Felicianas as well. You know, I've lived in St. Francisville now for about 19 years. I went to ITI, and then I went to LSU at night for industrial instrumentation and design. After that, I started at B&B in Norwood, which is, again, right here in this district. So I've spent a lot of time. I've seen B&B, you know, go from a really good company, hired a lot of people, until basically, you know, nothing now, you know, because of the economy. And, you know, we need those jobs here. That's the kind of companies that we need. We can put our people to work. But I left B&B in about 1997, and I started a career in the oil and gas industry, petrochemical, where I sell production equipment, you know, pretty much all, you know, all over the Gulf Coast. So got a lot of experience with dealing with people, and that's what this job is about. It's about being able to make friends and influence people. It's not about going down into the legislature and being the smartest one there, or the one that knows everything, or, you know, it's about getting things done. And then sometimes it's going to be compromise. And, you know, you're not going to agree with every single vote that I make, but I promise you, if I make a vote, it's gonna be what's best for this community and this district and our people. You know, again, my mom and dad retired from the hospital over there, and these state jobs, state institutions, and everything around here is very critical to our economy. But we can't depend on that anymore. You know, they're steadily picking away at it, and we've got to come up with a different plan. It's not my job to tell, you know, East Feliciana Economic Development Group what we need to do or how we need to do it. It's their job and our job together to figure out what's best for this community. It's my job to go down there and try to get make the friends, influence the people, and get the tools that we need to help, you know, be successful. You know, I would add, you know, a little bit, you know, some of the things that I have done. I coached recreational baseball for over 10 years. I'm a member of the Rotary Club in St. Francisville, a member of the Lions Club here, East Feliciana Chamber, a member of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. I also sit on the Zachary Taylor Parkway Commission, appointed member from West Feliciana. I sit on the Easter Seals Regional Advisory Committee, 9 Parish Regional Advisory Committee. So I've been pretty active in the community and trying to stay, you know, pretty active and just be a productive citizen. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a public servant. I don't have any, you know, I'm not going to be, I guess my strings are not going to be pulled by any one person or any one group of people. I don't have anybody that I owe any favors to. I just want to serve this community and this district the best I can. And I'm asking for your vote, your support, any, I'm going to give out some cards, got my cell number on the back and stuff, and I want you to call me. It's going to be our seat, your office, it's all of our offices. It's not just mine, and I want to hear from you. And I will put together, my plan is to put together an advisory committee, and I'm going to take people from different walks of life, and I want to hear from the people on the street. Because when we get in the, down at the legislature, sometimes you hear, you got the lobbyist in one ear, and you don't know what, you know, exactly how this is going to affect the people that actually have to live with it, and that's important. About once a month, once every other month or so, I want to meet with that committee, discuss the issues, prioritize what's best for this area and this district, and we're going to work in that direction. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
Ronnie, your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank y'all for coming out tonight from your busy schedule and being with us. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background and why I think I'm qualified to be state representative for the district, your state representative. Many of you may recognize the name Jet from convenience stores throughout the district. That started in '72 with my first little Norwood grocery in 1972 in Norwood. With the help of dedication of my family and myself, it has grown into 5 convenience stores. Also, in '90, we bought the Napa store here in Jackson, and in 2004 we sold it after 14 years. I grew up in the district. Went to school here, done business here. My family was raised here. My mother, Camille, as some of you may know, some of your family may remember, she was also a state employee, retired from the villa back in the early 80s after a long career with the state. I have 26 years of experience in state government, having held many different jobs, all of which was building a coalition and working with budgets. I served as mayor of Norwood. During that time, we took a deficit. We went into the office in a deficit and we left with and 4 years later, we had a surplus. Plus, we did many other things. My work experience is very broad. I've done a lot of things. I was a cashier, paper maker, electrician, mayor, business manager, and maintenance director, to name a few. Now, some of you may think I'm a little crazy to run for political office at this point, but I'll tell you why I'm interested in the job. The legislature needs to hear and know about working man and small business in Louisiana. Maybe they need more small businesses and a few less lawyers at the Capitol. The taxpayers need more legislators who know what it is like to create a job, hold a job, stretch a paycheck, and work hard for a living. I can relate to the needs and concerns and priorities of the people in this district. I've been here on the front line and in the trenches with them. I want to work and get government working for the people and the small business again. I understand the importance of every job in the district. I understand the critical importance of creating new jobs in the district. I will fight for the people in the district, maintaining existing jobs while working to create new jobs. I would like to thank the East Feliciana Chamber of Commerce for their forum. I am running for state representative because I believe working as a state employee, running a small business gives me the right combination of experience and common sense, which is what we need in the legislature. I will be a full-time representative and will work hard for the people to create jobs, protect jobs, improve the quality of life for every family in the district. That's why I'm running. That's why I ask you for your support and vote on October 22nd. Thank you.
Okay, now we turn to the question stage, and like I said, there's some up there. We have some copies on the table what they're going to be, and the candidates have been given them in advance. So up first is, what is your position on state income tax? And Bob's going to be first on that.
You're going to make me go first.
He made a.
All right. What an appropriate question to start out with. A bunch of us tomorrow will be sending off our quarterly tax statement if you pay them quarterly. So good thing to start out with. First thing I want to let y'all know is what my opinion is on taxes in general. The government doesn't create wealth. The government obtains wealth by taxes from wage earners and businesses. I put it in bold letters on the front of my push cards if you've seen them. We need to grow our tax base, not increase our tax rates. Okay, and I use a simple analogy to tell people. If the tax rate is 10% and 10 people are paying in, if we can get 20 to, that's X. If we can get 20 people to pay in, that's 2X. It's that simple. The more jobs we have, the more taxes we do, the more we're able to reduce our tax burden. Right? Personally, I think we need, and with this state, I think that we need immediate relief on capital gains tax. We pay 6%. Federally, you only pay 15%. I think that's something that the state needs to look at immediately. Also, I personally believe that we need to phase out Louisiana state income tax. I think we can do that in a 3-year plan. Senator Rob Marino just presented a bill to do it in 5 years. Okay? There are 9 states in the United States that pay no state income tax. Texas, right next door to us, Florida, Tennessee. First thing a lot of people say is, oh, but there's sales tax. Let me tell you something. Their sales tax in every one of those states is lower than ours. Why do they do it? They manage their money right, okay? And that's what we need to do. We need to increase our tax base, manage our money right, and we can reduce the tax burden on all of us. Thank you.
Again, I think that's a good question. I think that no one, especially in your business, you like to enjoy paying taxes. And we all know that if money is in the hand of the people more often, then the people could generate more activity in the economy, because if they have more money, they would spend more. I mean, the state income tax is expected to bring in about $2.8 billion this year, and over the next 10 years or so, about $5.4 billion. My position on the state income tax is to go through a process in which we start to repeal that and put more money into the hands of the citizens of and the residents of Louisiana. Now, what we have to do is to look at a way in which we can make up that offset of those dollars. I believe in economic development. I believe that we have to be smart on how we offset what we've taken away, because that's going to cost the state $5.4 billion in 2024. We have to look at how we offset those two. The way that we do it is to look at economic development projects that will allow us to do so. In West Feliciana, we have the same issue of looking at a dwindling tax revenue that's coming into our parish, and what do we do to offset that without increasing taxes? What we looked at was methods of bringing in and increasing the business opportunities in our parish and bringing in more businesses so that we can offset that particular shortfall. That's what we have to look at in the state. That's exactly what we have to look at. If repealing this income tax will put us in a better position than other states that are neighboring us, then we need to do that. But also, we need to take those dollars, invest them in areas that will provide entrepreneurial and business opportunities in the state to offset that shortfall. Thank you.
Kevin?
Taxes. Well, taxes are a necessary evil. We gotta have them to support the essential services that the government has an an obligation to provide for us. Schools, nursing homes, right here, the war veterans home, the state hospital over here, to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. Rob Marino, as they mentioned, he did put forth a bill this year to try to try to eliminate the income tax. And who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, who wouldn't want to cut any taxes if we could do it? The problem is we got to replace that revenue stream. And right now in Louisiana, we've got one of the lowest income tax rates in the country. But and if you look right next door again at Texas, like Bob said, they have no income tax, but they also have very high property taxes. Okay, so in Louisiana, we don't have a revenue problem, we got a spending problem. And that's what we need to get under control. Okay, we need to limit our spending to essential services. We've gotten in this mentality, all government has, where we have to take care of people from cradle to grave. Okay, and we have to limit our spending. And everything else will take care of itself. Appreciate it.
Ronnie?
Well, I've been instructed not to talk about taxes. It's not a good topic. But I'm for lowering taxes and reducing spending. I would support the repeal of the tax as long as the burden was not passed on to the local governments to deliver the same services such as to local schools and hospitals and roads and things to maintain. Now what we have here is we have a $7 billion in tax exemptions that go out every year to big businesses. What you could do is examine how much of that is really necessary to keep the big business or not keep the big business, and use the offset to get rid of your income tax. And that's the revenue's got to come from somewhere. Big business, that's just one option. $7 billion in tax exemptions that needs to be looked at. Some of them probably justified, some of them may not be, but it needs to be examined.
Question number 2, and this is going to go to Ken first. What is the solution to funding the anticipated shortfall of monies needed to keep the state employee retirement system solid?
Just a clarification, you're looking for a solution or the solution? We're open. This is a great question. I said the solution. I thought that was pretty interesting how it's worded. But according to the American Enterprise Institute, the public pension plan is basically in trouble all over the country. Most budgets are looking at, most states, are looking at putting 2 to 3 times more into making sure that they satisfy the shortfall. So because 2 minutes go real quick, let me just say what I would like to propose and would like to look at. I would evaluate the cost of the program and how that cost is determined. Sometimes because these pension funds are invested, there's an assumption that the investment dollars will deliver more than what they think they could. So what happens is when the investment does not come in as planned, there's another shortfall, so we also have a problem there. I'll look at a hybrid retirement system that we could possibly, new hires coming into state work, could possibly look at being involved with. that instead of the current system, which we already have a problem with, they can look at a hybrid system with maybe more 401k participation and see how that see how that would work. I'll also evaluate more employee contributions to the system, and also the final average compensation from 3 to 5 years. The thing is that it's going to take everyone to get this solved. It's just not going to be a state problem. But as I think Ken may have mentioned it, it's going to take government, it's going to take business, it's going to take local entities, it's going to take everybody to solve this problem, because we are obligated to pay those pensions. It's not a choice. We just have to figure out a best way, and it's not just one, there'll be several options that we look at to get the best possible solution. Thank you.
All right, you're up next, Kevin.
Before long. All right. Well, let me start off by saying I would not vote to privatize the Office of Group Benefits. It may be one of the only agencies in the state that runs, fairly lean. They got about a $500 million, a little over $500 million surplus. The problem is, or the challenge is, we got a $13 billion they call a UAL, which is an unfunded accrued liability. But the good news for state employees is that's backed by the good faith and credit of the state of Louisiana. So what that means is that has to be paid no matter what. It's law. About 2 years ago, the legislature proposed, and it passed, they increased the retirement age from 55 to 60. Okay. This past legislative session, they passed a law that 10% of any surplus monies for the state has to go toward that UAL. Okay. And all of these are small steps in the right direction, but we still got a lot of work to do. Okay. I'll continue to work on that. And that is a problem, but one of the main problems is we've got these enormous salaries. If you look around the state and you look at the states used to be the public sector, they didn't make as much money as the private sector, but you had good benefits. But now you've got state employees that are making, and it's not my numbers, it's their numbers, $550 million, $550,000 a year. And that's the problem. And that goes on and on and on. You can go through pages and pages of it. It's not the guy at Angola, in the tower, or the lady at the ward over here at East Louisiana State Hospital. It's these enormous salaries that we have to rein in. That would be my plan.
Well, me just being recently retired, it's pretty important to me about the retirement system. Unlike many states, though, the state employment, our retirement system here in Louisiana is in good shape, with investments well in excess of the expected rate of return for the past 2 years. Places is ranked in the top 2% of public pension plans greater than $1 billion. The state employees retirement system is not going broke. The average benefit for nearly 40,000 state retirees is less than $21,000 a year to live on. The largest portion of the retirement system revenue comes from investments and employee contributions. I applaud the 2011 legislative measure that will be on the ballot this fall to reduce the unfunded accrued liability of the state retirement through the dedicated use of non-reoccurring revenues. The state employee's retirement is protected by the Louisiana State Constitution. I will work to protect the defined benefit plan for the state workers, support the measure to reduce the unfunded accrued liability, but not at an increased cost to the state worker or the taxpayer.
Question number 3 with Kenny first. What activities?
I'm sorry. You made me go first, then you won't let me answer. I start going first every time. Well, we've heard 2 different viewpoints tonight. 3 people spoke and 2 different viewpoints about the system. Some think there may not be enough funding, and is it in good shape, or is there really not enough money there? I do know that they're, with the unfunded liability, they're working hard. As Ronnie said, they have taken some good steps to try to curtail that. But I'm going to tell you, as a business owner, I provide every single one of my employees with a fully funded retirement plan. I match it dollar for dollar. Not because the government says I have to, but because it's the right thing to do. Okay? And I'll tell you this. When we do that, I don't get to say, oh yeah, the money will be there when you retire. Okay? That money's put in there every month. It's there. I can never touch it. All right? That's what we need to look at doing. As Ken said, we need to see how the benefits are growing, where we're spending it. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we've got the money there, and you know, it may be backed by the state of Louisiana, and that's great. But there are other states right now, such as California. We do some work in California. The state of California has tried to get us to take IOUs for the work that we do. Can you believe that? Okay? And if we don't take care of this now and stop this unfunding, we're going to have problems just like that down the road, I can assure you. One last thing, what I think we need to do, I think Ken may have mentioned with some of the new state employees, we need to look at maybe putting them on a hybrid or a 401k type program where their money is there, it is funded, so 10 years from now, we're not talking about unfunded pensions. And that's one of the things I really want to see about us getting into this state. Thank you.
Now I can go to question 3. We actively champion and support the Zachary Taylor Parkway. Kenny, you're up.
Absolutely. I'm a member of the Zachary Taylor Parkway. I've been appointed by Mr. Dawson here. Well, West Feliciana. You know, for those of you who don't know what the Zachary Taylor Parkway, it was part of the Time project, which was a transportation infrastructure model for economic development, and it was one of 16 projects. And it's basically Highway 10, I guess, that runs from I-59 over to 49. And in that is the bridge, the new bridge, exactly, the Alderman Bridge. It's a vital link between, you know, this district. It connects us to our neighbors. It runs right through the heart of the district. And it's a crucial piece of the puzzle for, you know, to determine our future. And it should be an integral part of any sound economic development plan that we have here. And I will continue to work to fund that and see it through and make sure that you know, that it's a finished project and that we can you know, hopefully grow this district by utilizing it as a tool. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, the Zachary Taylor Park is an important part of economic growth of this area. As a legislature, I'll champion the parkway and make sure that the activities of the commission are funded and viewed as an important economic development tool to create jobs and increase tourism in the area.
Didn't forget you this time.
Well, as is everybody else up here, I'm fully supportive of the Zachary Taylor Parkway. Like I said earlier, it is very important to our ability to grow our tax base. I know you've heard that a lot. I remember in the 7th grade, Kenny's sister Donna, you remember Mr. Fontenot, Malcolm? Mr. Fontenot took us in the 7th grade over to St. Francisville to a little project they called the River Bend Nuclear Power Plant. Okay? And y'all know what that did for this area economically. Okay? I personally believe this is the biggest economic catalyst to this district since the River Bend Nuclear Power Plant. Okay? But I also believe this. Like Kevin Costner's movie, Field of Dreams, just because you build it don't mean they'll come. We've got to get out and we've got to use that. Okay? It's there. It's just like the natural resources, just like that river. But we've got to go get people, let them know that it's there, and have them come. This is going to provide many new opportunities for business. It'll mean tax revenues for the local communities, tax revenues for the state, tax revenues that we didn't have before. These new businesses will create new job opportunities. It's going to mean growth in every sector: construction, housing, banking, retail, you name it. As your state representative, I will work with the various committees in the State House, police juries, Sac-Taylor Parkway Commission, Kenny, those people, to make sure that this remains a priority. Thank y'all.
Do I support the Sac-Taylor Parkway? We just got a new bridge. Well, of course. I want to say this, but as Bob just said, it's not just the fact that we have a new bridge, but what do you do with it? I mean, you have a $300–400 million, probably more than that, infrastructure that was just built connecting to communities. Well, let me tell you how we take advantage of it. We already involved what we call a SET program, Stronger Economies Together. Larry's been sitting in the meetings. The Chamber of Commerce here in East Feliciana is in the meetings. We have Porcupine, we have West Feliciana. Because we realize the only way for us to have such an incredible infrastructure and to utilize the potential of it is not to look at just individual economic growth. It has to be regional. The BRAC, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, basically in their regional economic development, they're all looking at regional economic development opportunities. So what we have to do is to look at developing at a region. Through that SET group, which I'm a part of and have established, we are now in the process of developing a regional economic development plan. That was another grant that recently we just got called from the Department of Economic Development. There is another grant that could come in between $400,000 and $5 million that would allow even more regional economic development in a region that decides that they're going to come together and work together. Now, one community can provide all the jobs for a large entity that will want to move here. Now, one community may not have all the land mass. Now, one community may not have all the infrastructure. Now, one community may not have all the anything. But if we work together, and in District 62, that's what I plan on doing, working together to put ourselves in the best position to go after these opportunities and win these opportunities. Not divided, but united. And I believe that with the opportunities that the federal government is supplying and the state doing through SET and all those programs, we can get that done. And I guarantee you, that's something I'm passionate about and we will work on. Thank you.
All right, question number 4. Being aware of the financial situation that the state is currently in, after elected, what would be your plan to get us out of this problem? Specifically, what would you cut, if anything? Or would you recommend raising taxes, keeping in mind raises in gasoline taxes, tobacco tax, etc. is a tax increase? Kenny?
All right, this kind of brings me back to the first question again. We have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Okay. First thing I would do is look at all the state consulting contracts we have in the state. We got about a $25 billion budget, 25.3 now dollar budget, 25.3 billion budget. We got about 20,000 state contracts. Okay, and they account for about half of the budget. You know, there's a lot of duplication in state government. There's we need government. We have to have those essential state jobs in government, but they need to be limited to essential services. And again, we've got tons and tons of bean counters at the upper echelons of these state agencies, that are just milking us dry. I mean, they are milking us. And, government, again, is not there to take care of us from cradle to grave. It was put in place, it's there as a safety net, not a lifestyle. We have to rein in our spending. And that would be my first choice over tax, raising any tax, be reining in spending. Thank you.
Ronnie? First and foremost, I'm not in favor of raising taxes. When I took over as mayor in Norwood, we had a much smaller scale of a government entity, but we had a deficit in our budget. When I left, we had a surplus and we had increased services and made improvements. We didn't tax nobody. We currently spend too much in Louisiana, Just take a look at the projects we fund with state dollars that are not state entities. We need to spend more money more efficiently, tighten the belt, look for ways to make government leaner. As a small business owner, I'm always trying to make my business more efficient, and I'm the only one with the combination of business and experience in state and local governments. And I know that privatization does not work.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
Always is.
Well, cuts in government are always a very touchy subject, all right? Because one man's waste is another man's job. And this area particularly, you got to be very careful. You have to know where you stand, and you take that stand. One thing that concerns me about the current round of economic or budget cuts in the state is its overall economic impact. Government never cuts from the top, okay? Everything's at the bottom. I was in Angola the other day with Wardenboro County. Big cut. Well, guess what? Out of that, now the state didn't tell them who to cut. The state said how much to cut. 112 guards were going to lose their job. Okay? Now I know because I did the math, and the state knows. Well, first I want to ask something. Most of us in here would agree that if you're going to be on the state's roll and the state's taking care of you, you ought to work for it, right? At least do something. Most people agree with that. All of these people that they're cutting at these levels, it's actually cheaper for us to employ them. They provide a good, needed service than it is to push them off the roll. Take them from being productive, tax-paying citizens that have their own insurance, their own retirement, to putting these people on welfare rolls where they may not be able to find another job. We need to look at where the cuts are coming from before they just cut straight line. At your house, if the budget gets tight, what are you going to pay first, the electric bill or the cable? All right? We're going to probably keep electricity on. We need to prioritize our cuts. We don't need to pass them down to people from one top agency to the next top agency, say, cut this money. We need to look at what they're going to cut and how they're going to do it. Main thing is we can reduce the waste. We do not have to go through this in Louisiana.
Thank you. My kids asked me the same thing, what to pay first, the electric or cable. They didn't figure out that if electric was off, they can't watch TV anyway. I want to say that no one is in favor of taxes, and I believe that sometimes we tax out of our ears. But I do believe this, that why can't we do cost-benefit analysis? I think that the people who understand that what am I paying and what am I getting for it? The problem with it is a lot of times we don't understand what we're getting for it. I mean, I look at Zachary, how they grow in their school system. I mean, I have relatives that live there. They tell me sometimes, they say, wow, boy, we pay a lot of taxes. But know what they say? They say, boy, we should see where it's going. And you see a smile that come on their face. What we have to do is to look at where is the money going and what are we getting for it. And doing a cost-benefit analysis, if we can't prove that something is productively happening with those dollars, then that's when we need to start to apply the cuts. I agree with what Ken said here. Sometimes we have outlandish jobs. I was reading an article that talked about how in government now the salaries are higher than what we get in private industry. Well, guess what? I bet you in private industry, if they look at that job, they look at what that job is providing and whether or not they should keep that job at that salary level and keep that person there. Sometimes we have to look at those issues. Being in government in West Feliciana, I believe that's the kind of thing that we try to look at. And I think the same thing needs to be applied to the state. If you're paying tax dollars, where are they going? What's the benefit that you're getting? If you're doing something that you can see the benefit as taxpayers, if you can see the benefit that your tax dollars are really providing something, it may not be a problem. The problem is you're seeing too many of your tax dollars going and you don't see what you're getting. I believe that a good engineering analysis, like a cost-benefit analysis, or what we talk about ROI, businesses have to do it all the time. Why can't we do that in government? I think we can. And that's what I work towards. Thank you.
First, we need to prioritize differently, in my opinion, the function of spending in the so-called economic development dollars. I don't like it when we give away millions to international companies to lure them to build factories here while we ignore our own small businesses. if we spend half the money to help the local small businesses grow that we give away to huge corporations, our local business could grow, prosper, and create jobs for their own people, our own citizens, our own kids. As far as streamlining government bureaucracy, I'm a small businessman, so you can believe me when I tell you that we need to make it easier for business to expand and operate. And as a legislator, I'll be focused on making sure that that happens for all small businesses here in our area.
My son kind of laughed about that last question because he recommended today that I take out ROI and a few other things.
He called me before we put it in.
As a representative, I would take a two-pronged approach to this, okay? First, what I do is I use my experience and expertise to work with the colleagues in the state legislature to develop incentives for new and relocated businesses. For example, most new businesses really don't turn a profit early, so tax breaks really don't work. What we need to look at is reducing real dollars, inventory tax, property tax, maybe even having some tax credits. But the main thing is doing this for people that create real jobs, okay? What we don't want to do is we don't want to get ourselves like they did in the film industry where these tax credits come in and people will buy them to save from paying income tax themselves. We got the pickle over that. We don't need that fiasco to happen again. Next, I would work with the local officials to further those incentives on the local level, working with the towns, the parishes, the police jury, etc., to extend that, all right, and use that as a tax shelter to help the businesses. As a business owner, I have to streamline my own businesses to stay ahead. We need to do that with the state. I don't have enough time, but I can tell you I just signed a contract to do something on 7 states. Every state, the license that I hold right now is all I need. Louisiana, it's going to cost me over $8,000 to get that going right here in Louisiana. All the other states, I'm good to go, okay? Then it's going to cost me an additional $1,500 a month to do it just in Louisiana. That's not a good business climate for a small business. If you deal with it every day, we see it every day. Filing your taxes, I don't know how many of y'all own businesses, but paying sales taxes from a business in Texas, very simple. In Louisiana, I have one full-time employee. That's all they do is figure out state tax. Thank y'all.
Streamline government bureaucracy. Wow. One thing that I've noticed in coming from an engineering background and business background, going to parish government, trying to get things done and trying to get things done through the bureaucratic system, it just makes you want to pull your hair out. I mean, if we say that most of the jobs are created by small business, and I think that in some of the, maybe it's some of the federal programs, a small business is counted as 500 employees or less. But the state, I think, is maybe 100 less or something like that. But most small businesses are the one that create the jobs. What I like to see and what I would work on is providing opportunity for local small business to either grow their business, to be able to hire more people, and then have homegrown entrepreneurial type people, give them an opportunity to be able to do something. We just lost a business locally that basically left and went to another state because they felt that this state was not doing enough to help them. Now, they had a Department of Energy grant for over $500,000, and they were looking at providing a manufacturing facility in this region. The problem is they had problems working with the state to get what they needed. So what I will work on is make sure that opportunities for local business, that was another local business that was looking at a $20 million grant that was going to provide infrastructure into the rural areas. Basically, broadband infrastructure in the rural areas. Well, guess what? The bureaucracy, they're trying to get that done and make you pull your hair out. What we have to do is look at doing the kind of things that would give opportunities to small business and allow them to grow. And I would say that in the rural community, because we love our beauty, we love what we have, one of the first infrastructure that we have got to get here is broadband throughout the whole rural region. That way, we can grow clean businesses, high-tech businesses, the kind of business that our kids can stay home and make a living with. Thank you.
First, I'd rescind all the, I'd work on rescinding all the current regulations that stifle business and growth. That's the first thing we need to do. It gives business owners and small business and, layers and layers upon red tape. Second thing we need to do, we need to centralize where someone who wants to start a business can go to a one-stop shop to get all the information, all of their paperwork, all their permits. You should stop at one lady's desk and she should point you down the hall to the next lady. It makes it a whole lot easier for people to do business that way. On a local level in this district, we got to give them a reason to come here. We have to give them a reason to come here. We got to provide them with skilled workers. We have a technical school right over here, just down the street, that we need to fund, we need to support, and we need to promote. We know that not every kid's going to go to college, so it's our responsibility, as a government and as a community, to offer them, to make sure that we offer them the chance to better themselves, okay, and give them the tools necessary. Okay, that's important. It's not our responsibility, again, to make sure they take us up on it. It's our responsibility to offer it to them. Okay, so if we offer a skilled workforce, a safe environment, and a successful school system, business will find us.
The Chamber is planning on holding additional political forums in the future. We'll let you know when and where. Everybody's invited also to attend our monthly meetings, which take place on the second Thursday of each month at 7:45 a.m., either at the Feliciana Landmark or Highlands Bank. Invite a friend to come join the Chamber. Thank Roadside for the dinner tonight, who is also our newest member of the Chamber. Thanks Centenarian for hosting tonight, especially Mr. Harvey and Bonnie and her staff. Thank you all very much. Last but not least, to Audrey, who makes all this possible. Amen. There is no way in this parish parish who does more than Audrey to make it a place where we all want to work and live. Thank you, Audrey. I'm sure the candidates will be around after to answer questions. Again, thank you all for coming. Drive home safely, and God bless America.